Hello. As many of you know, I've just come back from a Boomtown festival. Festivals are the biggest drug hubs in the world. That doesn't even need to be said by anybody. And me being a doctor, I'm kind of a little bit fascinated by drugs. Not in like a taking capacity, but as in, I obviously prescribe a lot of drugs. I give a lot of drugs. And I see people on a lot of drugs. And I'm just seeing a change in not only the festival drug scene, but also the people who come into hospital with drug-related problems scene. So I wanted today to talk to you about taking drugs at festivals. I'm not advocating taking drugs, okay? Let me point that out right there. I actually want to talk to you about the different effects and like my experiences with seeing people on drugs, and also my advice, although again, not recommending taking recreational drugs, but people are going to do it. They're going to do it. I can't stop you. So how to take them safely? Because a lot of people go into K-holes. And if you don't know what a K-hole is, I'm going to tell you. But you're also lucky enough to not know what a K-hole is. So that's good news for you. However, I've seen a medically induced K-hole. I've seen a medically induced by doctors. And I've also seen recreational medically induced comas, K-holes, as in induced by the drug, but not induced by doctors or medical staff. Self-induced. Wow, that was a fucking roundabout way, wasn't it? So today I'm just going to cover the scene, the drug-taking scene, and it might not all be festival drugs. I was sort of umming and ahhing about making this episode, thinking like, are people going to be like, oh, Dawn's advocating taking drugs, Dawn's taking drugs, Dawn takes drugs all the time. No. I just have an interest in it because I am seeing people damaging themselves with all of these recreational drugs. And when I talk about recreational drugs, people are like, what's that? Well, recreational drugs are drugs that you take for a non-medical purpose and for a leisure use, as in to get high, to be like happier, to party, to have more energy, stuff like that. That is recreational drug use. And I ask people every fucking day. I work in A&E, right? Everybody, a lot of people come in with drug-related problems. So I'm well experienced in it, to be honest. And obviously just came back from a festival. So I was like, what better time than today to do my recreational drug podcast? I am fucking sweating. It's really hot. It's just hot. Okay? So I've just eaten as well. That always makes me hot. All right. I think one of the biggest things that I want to talk about today is actually ketamine, which is kind of not surprising now. But if you told me I was going to be making a podcast about ketamine 10 years ago, firstly I would have been like, what? I'm making a podcast? Really? Like, how did that happen? And also, ketamine. Come on, like, it's hardly a party drug, is it? But people seem to be taking it in a trendy way. It's like, I'm so keted up. Like, everyone fucking loves ketamine. So we're going to talk about ketamine a bit later. And that's where the name K-hole comes from. I want to just... Let's talk about different kinds of drugs. So you've obviously got synthetic. I always say obviously and then realise it's not obvious whatsoever. One of my kind of, not embarrassing questions, but like awkward questions that I ask in the emergency department is, do you take any recreational drugs? I don't get embarrassed asking people that if they're like anywhere up to 50 years old and above maybe 13. But when people are like 70, you never know. But I still ask them. Because, they got chest pain, they've taken cocaine, then I'm sorry, but it's probably the cocaine. But anyway, no one's ever said yes over the age of, to be honest, most people say no. Some people say, yeah, I take weed, and that's about it. Most people said, yeah, I did it as a teenager. Most people say no. Maybe that means they don't want to tell me. Maybe that means they don't think it's relevant. Maybe that means that they're actually telling the truth. I don't believe it sometimes. And maybe I need to ask more specifically, are you taking ketamine? Are you taking cocaine? Have you taken cocaine? So I ask everybody, not everybody, a lot of, if you have a 90-year-old coming in, I'm sorry, but it's pretty, in like a nursing home, I doubt they're going to be doing lines of coke on the weekend. Like, it's just pretty unlikely. Although you never know. God, I'm having a bit of a bad time here. I've got a lot of drugs on this list. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Shame I didn't make it 10, eh? But I don't think I need to talk in huge amounts of detail about all of them. At the start, so yeah, synthetic or natural. So what I mean by that is natural, is it made from a plant? Or a natural substance, which is probably a plant. So things like heroin, made from a plant. Cocaine, made from a plant. But things like spice is inherently a synthetic substance. It is literally a synthetic drug. And this is kind of what we're seeing. This is how legal highs are made, for example, because you can't just randomly make a new plant that creates drugs for you. So you have to chemically manufacture a new kind of drug. Either you alter a tiny bit of an existing drug, and that can make it quite dangerous because you don't know what effect it's going to have until people start taking it. And the thing with heroin, cocaine, etc., everyone's been taking it for bloody years, centuries, maybe thousands of years, So it's been around a long time. But there are things, particularly when I was younger, things like MCAT came out. I still don't really know what that is, but that was the trendy drug when I was younger. You also got things like speed, which is methamphetamine. And pills, ecstasy, MDMA. I think they're also synthetic. They're not made from a plant. I don't even know what MDMA stands for. That is the drug name, though. It's like methyl diminox. I don't know. I can't remember. It's unimportant. MDMA, whatever. So you can kind of put these drugs into like categories: stimulants, depressants, relaxants, sedatives, hallucinogenics, mood enhancers, or euphorics. And you can then obviously split them up into recreational or prescribed. So today I'm just talking about recreational. Yes, you can take opioids, as in heroin, morphine, opioids, recreationally or prescribed, and a lot of people do take, that's why opioid-related medications are controlled in the UK, i.e. you have to have the prescription is like super thorough, and you have to write it in words and numbers. It's like really, it's quite hard to get because there's a black market for it, right? So people go and they get it and then they sell it, and it's quite a bit of money. So that is the reason. You can get them over the counter, but not in very high doses. So you do have to get it prescribed. There is a big problem in the USA at the moment. One of the, probably the biggest problems in the US, that apart from gun crime, gang crime, one of the biggest problems at the moment is the prescribed opioid epidemic. And people are addicted to them because opioids are addictive. Your body, they're not just like, I fancy a bit of like morphine today. It's like your body needs it. You get withdrawal symptoms if you don't have it, and you have to keep taking more and more and more of it to get the same effect. Wouldn't it be great if you could just take a tiny bit every, and it would have the same effect? Unfortunately, it's not the case. It's you build up a tolerance, much like alcohol. So I guess the first one I'll talk about, probably the most well-known, but also weirdly the most hard, people think it's the hardest drug, heroin. Because I guess you have to inject it. You can also smoke it. There's a stigma around it, You have to remember that I don't think there's that much difference between, this is my own opinion, right, with a kind of medical, twist on it, but I don't think there's that much of a difference between taking heroin, as in morphine or opioids, and taking ketamine. They are both very strong drugs, yet people don't bat an eyelid about taking ketamine. I think it's kind of normalised and, people just talk about it so often, but they're both addictive. They're both sedating is the word I was looking for. They both have extremely negative side effects. The one difference, I would say, is that it is very, very, not impossible, very hard to die when taking ketamine, because when you take opioids, I'm just going to call them opioids. When I talk about opioids, I mean morphine, heroin, oxycodone, codeine. They're all the same thing. So I'm just going to say opioids. That comes from the opium, I don't know, the poppy, basically. So that is technically a natural drug, milk of the poppy is what they called it in Game of Thrones. So, people used to have that back then. They would use it as a painkiller, and things have come a long way, but also not that far. So I can't even remember what I was saying now. I think, the main difference is that when you take opioids, your respiratory rate goes down so much that you can just die, right? With ketamine, although not impossible, it's much less likely to kill you by basically suffocating you. You maintain your airway, as in you don't stop breathing, or your airway closes over because you're so relaxed. And we use it in the medical field as a way to sedate people, but without having to give them an alternative airway that we have to keep open for them with a tube or something of the sort. So I've seen children on ketamine that we've given them, and to be honest, weirdly, they look like they're having a great time. And I think that's the thing, is it looks like a great time. But I think that is because they are given a set amount. They're given the right amount for their weight. It's also IV. It comes on, goes very quickly. The other thing is, we're giving them pure ketamine. They're getting relatively 100% ketamine. It's not like, maybe it's got some speed in it as well. Maybe it's got some crystal meth in it. Who knows? No, it's, it comes out the bottle, in, gone, ketamine. And people love filming. I think this is where it's come from, the popularity, is some people give ketamine to, especially children, in order to sedate them, to manipulate their broken bones or pull their joints back into place if they're dislocated. And there's a lot of videos going around of people basically hallucinating, acting really funny, funny from the witnessing perspective, acting quite humorously to watch on camera. They're just saying random shit oh my god, there's unicorns and I love candy floss, and what's that? Oh my god, it's a dragon. And it's quite funny to watch, and they're moving their arms, and it wears off so quickly. And because it's a medically induced and it's a safe environment, no one's scared. If your kid came home doing that, you'd be let's get them to hospital, right? You wouldn't be ha ha ha, let's take a video, your 13-year-old doing that. No, you would take them to hospital. So that's why people are quite relaxed about it. And there's been a lot of videos that have come out with that kind of behaviour. I've seen it firsthand. It is relatively amusing, As far as hospitals go, there are less amusing things in hospital, far more less amusing things. So, that's up there. That, drug-induced weirdness. So I think that's where the ketamine, and also ket just sounds like ket. Yeah, got ket. I'm so fucking gone on ket. And it's it just sounds cool. It's not have you got any heroin? I'm gonna shoot myself up with some heroin tonight. No one would actively start on that drug because it's got such a stigma against it, whereas ket is just it's seen as this chill drug that no one gives a shit about. It's not the case, okay? We are seeing, let's talk about ket, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Ooh. We are seeing, in particular, and the reason why I talk about this is because, was it last night I was working or the day before? I can't remember because I had a nap today and now I've forgotten what day I'm on. It's Monday. Yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I worked Sunday. Yesterday I saw a girl come in with ketamine-related side effects. She lives a normal life, for all you know. She's random lady walking down the street. She's the receptionist that you see. Yet she's on 6 grams of ketamine a day and is suffering and struggling with the consequences of taking 6 grams is a fucking lot, like loads. I don't know how much it is physically, like I've not seen it, but that's a lot. I'm pretty sure 1 bag has a gram. I don't know. It's not like, again, not my thing. Not taking it. But I'm guessing 1 bag is a gram. Who the fuck knows? Someone tell me, please. And, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it's really cheap. Apparently, £5 for I don't know how much. But if you want to have a fun night out, alcohol, a lot more expensive because the government tax you on it. And then, people want to make profits, etc. And I only found all this out last night when I was speaking to one of the paramedics. Now, apparently, if you go out on Ket, similar effect, but it's a lot cheaper. £5 for a night out. Like, that's pretty good. And then you're not, like, peeing all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. Alcohol is not a benign drug whatsoever. People think it is. It's not. But I don't often see young people, it's more rare I would say, to see young people, my age let's say, coming into hospital because of side effects related to alcohol use. And most people don't drink alcohol every day. Probably because it's socially unacceptable. Probably because they see it as, well, I can't be an alcoholic. And probably because it's less addictive than ketamine. Also, people maybe see the side effects of alcohol, and ketamine is a relatively new recreational drug, I would say, in like the mainstream recreational drug world. So maybe people are not, people see other drugs, like in particular crack or heroin, as quite like dangerous and scary and like only for the hardcore drug addicts that are like homeless and on the streets. Not me, no, I'm working and blah, blah, blah. People, I think it's just the way people see drugs, and they don't see that, like, actually it's very dangerous. Now, the problem with Ket is a lot of people, and we don't exactly know the cause, but it's a very common theme. Oh, by the way, Burrito's here saying hello. Hello. He's getting a little squeeze. If you don't know who Burrito is, then you are missing out. Burrito is my podcasting friend. He comes from a game and he looks really cute and he is really squishy and you throw him at people. It's from a game called Throw Burrito. Go check it out. Anyway, people are coming in with, number 1, abdominal pain. Now, I think the thought is that it's the withdrawal symptoms. It's not when you're actively on ketamine. I think because it's a sedative, relaxant, then when your body's off it, I don't know, this is my hypothesis, your body just starts contracting and there's lots of muscles in your bowels and it just starts squeezing and it hurts a lot. So there's not really much you can do for it either. I don't think we necessarily have much to give for it. And it's just like, well, maybe you should not be taking ketamine. Just stop taking ketamine and then it'll go away. The other thing, and I think this might be irreversible, is something called K-bladder. K-bladder. Ketamine bladder. Oh, K-cramps is what you call the abdominal pains. K-bladder is, sometimes you pee blood. Basically, your bladder shrinks. Again, don't know why. It shrinks and you basically can't hold any urine in your bladder. And you're like, 25? And I don't think it takes long to get to this point, okay? I don't have any, study information, but I've seen people that are similar to my age have K-bladder. And basically, it hurts to pee, you pee blood, and then you're peeing all the time. And I'm pretty sure it's irreversible. And your bladder I think it just becomes fibrosed, as in really stiff and a bit like a stale piece of bread. That's the only kind of thing that I can think of that anybody would know. It shrinks and it like gets really firm and it can't like stretch. Anyway, the long-term effects of this are not yet seen because people haven't been doing it long enough. And that's kind of the problem with taking a new recreational drug. I know it's not new, but newly trendy. Newly people are taking it a lot. That's the problem with taking a newly recreational drug, is because you are basically the guinea pig. Okay, so I have got lots of other things written down. I don't think we need to go into the full chat about, just maybe say if you want me to chat about the other ones. I have written down crack cocaine, MCAT, spice, speed, benzodiazepines, again, a commonly prescribed, not common, but a prescribed drug that people take for recreational use. It's a sedative. Ketamine, weed. Everybody knows weed, don't they? Pills, ecstasy. Now, let's talk about, it's going to be a short boy today, half an hour I reckon. Let's talk about taking drugs safely. Because, come on, everyone's going to experiment. But how do you take them safely? Now, I've seen, heard of, and known about people who have died because of taking recreational drugs. I've also seen lots of negative side effects, particular seizures, which is having a fit, basically. Not epileptic, they're normally, they don't have epilepsy or anything, but things in their body, which I'm not going to bother going into, but electrolyte-related abnormalities cause them to have seizures. It fucks your brain up, basically, and that causes long-term damage. So anyway, let's talk about taking drugs safely so you don't have a seizure. I would say most people have negative drug side effects because of either, one, taking too much at once, or taking it in not the right environment, or taking drugs that you don't know what's in it. And that's a common issue. Unless you're in hospital or getting these drugs, online, or I don't know, not online. Not online. You don't know what you're getting still, I would say. Unless you're getting it from a reputable healthcare source, you don't know what you're getting. Is it ketamine? Who knows? Is it meth? I don't know. Is it cocaine? They're all white. Who the fuck knows? Not me. Some people say they know what ketamine looks like. Apparently it's got crystals and it's got like a shiny appearance, like pearly. I don't know. That's just what I've heard. But I would say, right, let's get started. If you're going to take drugs at a festival, I don't know who these people are that are taking them on nights out. Like, please, why? Why are people going out on nights out and taking drugs? Like, I get it, it's cheaper, but come on, is your life really that sad? Like, I do get it at festivals, they're extremely overstimulating. Everybody is on drugs. Like, it's a bit more, they are basically for taking drugs. Like, that's kind of the vibe of some festivals. It's like, how many drugs can I take? Some are not like that, but a lot of them are. I would say try and be with people you know. Safe. Be safe. Ugh, that's such a fucking tragic thing to say. Be safe, guys. No fucking shit, Dawn. Shut up. But as in, do you know the people that you're with? If not, then where are the people that you're with? If you're not with anyone, like I was at a festival on my own, then I wouldn't go getting yourself smashed up on drugs around, firstly, people that you don't know, with people that don't care about you. And that's the truth of it. They don't give a shit about your existence. Like, they might seek, medical help if they're nice people, hopefully anyway. But if you wander off into the abyss and get, attacked behind a bush, they're not going to be like, oh, it's Dawn, we need to go and look for her, we need to make sure she's okay, we better text her, ring her, check she's alright. No, they're just another rando. That's kind of what I felt like. I was like, oh, I don't want to get too drunk because, I don't want to be, not remembering things. Also, I cannot handle anymore being as old as I am, 28. I cannot handle not remembering my nights. I just can't. I can't do it anymore. So be in a good frame of mind. You don't want to be taking stimulants, as in cocaine, for example, when you are in a bad mood, because it's just going to enhance that mood. You're just going to feel more pissed off, more angry. And yeah, just be with people that you know or that you feel safe around. And because if shit hits the fan, which sometimes it does, you start hallucinating or you go into a K-hole. K-hole, right, let's get there. Ketamine whole. It's basically when you overdose on ketamine is essentially what it is. You're overdosing and you become so sedated that you literally can't function. It's a horrible place to be, apparently. Again, I've witnessed it. I saw a lot of people in what I would determine to be a K-hole. They're generally like fine physically from my experience, but they're not having a good time. They literally feel like shit. I feel like they remember it too, but they, I don't know, people just overdose. They don't know what they're doing, right? Or they don't know what they're taking. So I think if you're with friends or, people that you trust, then you know that if you do go into a K-hole, they're not just going to like leave you on the floor, right? And be like, woo, let's go. Let's have a great time without rando on the floor who's holding us back. It sounds like I have quite a generally negative perception of random people at festivals, but I'm sorry, but if you're taking drugs, you're probably taking drugs with them. And if you don't know them, they're not going to hang around for you, from my experience. And also, if they're on drugs, are they really in a fit state to be looking after you? Like, I really don't think so. So, now the good thing about festivals is that there's often a lot of medical help nearby because they know people take drugs and they know people are going to go into these K-holes. Fortunately, there's not much you can do for a K-hole, so you kind of just... I think that's the issue with drugs is you just kind of... You got to ride it out, and that is the shit part. You're just like, wow. And you might remember it, and you might feel awful, but you can only really manage the symptoms. There's no antidote for it. There's an antidote for opioids, but... Again, most people aren't taking them. So my next tip is who knows what's going to be in it. So try, if you're going to take them, this is my safety method. Who the fuck gets a pill, for example, and takes the whole thing? As in a recreational pill, not just like a prescribed drug. You then do take the whole thing usually. The come up can be quite overwhelming. When I say come up, come down, that's the drugs kicking in and then wearing off. The come up can be quite an overwhelming experience, and you also don't know what's in some of these drugs. So you don't want to take loads at once. Like, you wouldn't just... I don't even need to say it. You wouldn't just, take loads of... oh, thanks for that, motorbike. You wouldn't just take loads of prescribed pills at once unless you were trying to overdose, would you? I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. So take it with caution. If you're going to do a bit of Ket, for example, okay, I use the thing about Ket because everybody's fucking on it. Take a tiny bit, right? You can always have more. You can, but you can't take it away. If you take a whole line of Ket that's as big as this bloody pen, don't do that, please. That's a lot of Ket. But if you take that much, you can't take it out your system. That's fucking it. It's in. Gone. Gonzos. Right? But if you just take a tiny bit and you go, oh, that didn't really affect me that much. Or, whoa, that affected me quite a lot. Then you know, okay, that much. That's how strong it is. That's how much it affected me. And you can gauge from there, right, I could probably have double that next time or just have that again. It's the people that just go, yeah, let's fucking go! And just take, a whole line or two in one go or 2 pills at once, and you're like, what were you expecting? Of course you're in a K-hole. Of course you're off your head, seizing in a corner. Just stop. Pills you don't need to take all of them at once. Literally, they can be broken physically. You can snap them up into quarters, I would say. I know I sound like a pussy, but this is honestly you can always take an extra quarter, can't you? If you've taken half of it or a whole one, that's it. Goodbye. Your body might throw it up, to be fair, but that's it. It's gone. There we go. Let's also talk about how to take drugs. No, but the way that you take them is it's going to differ on how much it's going to affect you. If you crush up a quarter of a pill and snort it, it's going to hit you straight away. Or rub it in your gums, right? It's going to go straight into your blood system. You're going to feel it straight away. You're going to know the effect. If you swallow a quarter of a pill, it's going to have a completely different effect. And people think, well, it's the same drug. Why does it matter? Because it's just a different method of taking it. If I give somebody IV morphine and I give somebody oral morphine, the doses are completely different. completely. You can't give somebody 10 milligrams of IV morphine unless they're used to it. You'll probably knock them out, right? You start with 1-2 milligrams. Oral morphine, you can give people 10 quite easily, unless they're like really tiny. But 10, 20 milligrams in one dose, like it's a lot more. It's like 10 times more. But it's I don't know. I think what happens is the drug goes into your, obviously it absorbs more slowly, so it doesn't hit you all at once. It also lasts longer if you take it orally, but it comes on more slowly, goes away more slowly. But also, because the bloodstream from your stomach goes straight through your liver, so it absorbs all the nutrients and then goes straight to your liver, you've got something called a first pass metabolism. So your liver will metabolize some of the drug, who knows how much, before it lets it go back into your blood system. And that is why when you take it orally, not only does it come on slower, but you might not get as much of an effect. That's why a lot of people snort things, despite it being pretty disgusting, to be quite honest. But there we go. And also, you know, with snorting it, you can be like, oh, okay, I'll take a tiny bit. What was that like? The immediate effect, right? Okay, that's how I felt with that much. And then you know, it's not like, oh, I'm not really sure because I had a quarter of a pill half an hour ago. Has it kicked in yet? I'm not really sure. Like, should I wait another half an hour? I don't know. And then you take a bit more and then you're like, okay, no, too much. And now it's all hitting me and I'm not having a good time. Oh, my fucking camera battery just died. I swear, I've had like a run of having no camera battery deaths for ages. And the way I've been doing it is just putting a new battery in. And every time I start podcasting, it usually lasts the whole time. I don't know what was going on with that fella, but he was clearly lying to me because he said he was full and then he just died on me. What a little fucker. Anyway, the two last things are, like I said, you take a quarter of a pill, you wait half an hour. I would even say wait 60 minutes, an hour. That's probably usually, I don't know, depending on what drugs you've taken, but usually the peak, when you're going to start feeling it. If you felt nothing after an hour, then, you know, I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe there was nothing in it. That could be a possibility. Because, again, you have no idea what you're taking. Like, it literally could be just fucking sugar. And you got a little bit of a high blood sugar and that was it. It went up and then it went back down. I'm so sweaty. The difficulty is, it's August, it's hot in here. I can't open the window because the traffic outside is just too problematic for me. The last thing is how to get to sleep after. Now, if you've taken a sedative, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But a lot of people take pills or MDMA. Some people then take Ket after to make them go to sleep. Now, I don't know how advisable that is, but I know a lot of people that take weed is often quite helpful. And I would say relatively safer. I don't want to be held to account for that one. That's just what I've seen, personally. Now, again, I don't want this information to be misconstrued as me saying, go take drugs, guys, go take weed after. Like, I know they're all illegal. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just telling you, if you're going to do it, this is probably the safest way to do it. And not medical advice, because that's not in my remit, but from what I've personally seen. Now, I guess the last thing to say is, when should you seek medical help? I mean, some of them are kind of obvious, right? You have a seizure, go to the fucking hospital. If you're unconscious, that's kind of difficult to say, right? Some people, you know, if someone's drunk and unconscious, if they're still breathing, it's probably okay. I don't want to be held to account for that, by the way, because, you know, I don't know. It's very situational. But I think if you're worried, then go seek medical help. But those ones are kind of obvious. You're having a seizure. You've got chest pain. Go see a fucking doctor, right? You are having a seizure. Did I just say that one? Yeah. Hallucinating, probably not a medical emergency. Unless they're like going to try and either hurt somebody or kill themselves or hurt themselves, right? Because there's not a huge amount you can do for it, But if somebody's in danger or going to endanger somebody else, then they might need to go and be sedated, or, you know, they're having like a psychotic episode or something like that. That probably needs to be sorted out. You know, if they're like, oh, I'm going to go jump off a bridge or something. If somebody's on drugs, I honestly would not take that lightly, because people, even if their mental health is fine when they are sober, when people are on drugs, their inhibitions are gone. If they think they're going to go jump off a bridge, I wouldn't chance it. You know, either keep an eye on them, or if that's not possible or they're trying to, you know, properly hurt themselves, then hospital is the way forwards. What else? I think K-hole, probably don't need. As in, you know, you're just a bit like rolling all over the floor, like, probably don't need to go. I think I've said the main ones. I'm going to let you take your own judgment on that one. It's hard for me to say because it's very situational. I don't want people to be like, Dawn said if you're in a K-hole you don't need to go to hospital. But Dawn isn't saying that. Dawn is saying, you know, if I saw somebody in a K-hole, would I take them to hospital? Probably not. But then I'm very confident with handling drug-related issues. So, but there are certain things you do need to, even if you're not a fucking doctor. Seizure, chest pain, or I'm going to go and kill myself, somebody else, I'm going to hurt myself or somebody else. They need to, you know, be sorted out. I'm trying to think, like, what else? I don't think urinary retention is often a side effect of ketamine. But if you can't pee and you've got tummy pain, then that's probably a reason to go to hospital. I don't know if that's an issue. Let's have a look. No, so you often get the opposite. You just get incontinence. It says it's a potential side effect, but I think it's generally you get incontinence. Yeah, there we go. I think that's going to be it for today. I'm pretty tired, to be honest. I haven't taken any ketamine, but I'm pretty tired. Again, I just want to reiterate, don't take drugs, kids. But that's, you know, if you really feel inclined to go and do some ketamine, there's nothing I can do to stop you physically. I don't know who you are. So that's my ketamine advice. I feel like it was a good idea to do this, you know? I might regret that. People are going to be like, Dawn, I can't believe you did an episode on ketamine. Like, you crazy bitch. But look, loads of people are on ketamine. It's a problem that needs to be sorted out. And hopefully I've helped one of you today, or at least enlightened you to drugs, which are literally, I have a fucking degree in. Like, I have a degree in drugs. Medicine. That is a drug. They're all drugs. So, there we go. Sweaty Dawn needs to go and shower and also needs to go and sleep, I guess, at some point. No, I had a nap. You don't need to go and sleep. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks so much for listening, guys. If you want to come back and listen to me ramble about more shit, then I upload every Monday. And Thursdays, and I do burp quite a lot, and so does Burrito. If you liked it, give it a like. Give it a rating. 5 stars on Spotify would be quite helpful. And share it with friends who you think might have a ketamine problem, because then they could listen to this and say, wow, a doctor told me not to take ketamine, what a surprise. But anyway, I will see you in a few days' time. I'll love you and leave you. I look disgusting. Bye.